Coming up on Techzilla, Microsoft Zune is in the house. Plus, protect your valuable data from nasty power problems. And save your cash and get the best used video games. All in this week's episode, which is brought to you by Drobo, Netflix, GoDaddy.com, and the man who steals brains. Welcome to Techzilla. I'm Jessica Corbin.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And we've gotten a flood of emails.
A flurry.
Around the new Techzilla daily videos. Most of you love the daily tips and tricks, but some of you that subscribe would like to see them in separate RSS feeds.
Yes, it'd actually be nice. Basically, the request is, there's two things going on. iTunes subscriptions where you're only saving one last video and a new video overwrites the old video, in which case, like the Big Friday show. We're going to change the way we put the daily videos out, so that doesn't happen. And two, Revision 3 is a big website redesign coming in 2008, not soon after that, very soon after that. In the none too distant future, we're going to have customizable RSS feeds so you can pick exactly what you want to subscribe
I know, we're going to get a total facelift in 2008. So just email us, techzilla@revision3.com, to let us know what you think.
And we are listening, we promise. Now, a couple weeks ago, we shut off Moreau
Yes.
as an alternative to iTunes for subscribing to podcasts, videocasts, and asked you, the Techzilla audience, what your favorite tools were for subscribing to video podcasts.
And Dave, a fellow viewer, wrote in and said, Juice does a pretty good job of collecting video and audio casts. It also has a media player, but I prefer VLC and Winamp instead. And then Mike went on to say, not only is Juice a great aggregator, but double-clicking on a download in the list plays it in your chosen player instead of the sucky one. And then Thomas, of course, Thomas, our viewer, adds one more thing. He says, best of all, Juice is free, open source, and cross-platform, meaning Mac, GNU, Linux, and Windows.
Very nice.
All very, very nice.
I think so. Juice gets a firm nod.
I think so.
Andre, who oddly enough works for TvTonic, says, I really don't think there's a slicker UI for a video player RSS aggregator out there than TvTonic. Give it a shot with a remote control in Vista Media Center. Okay. Well, Chris and Steve, who don't work for TvTonic, as far as we know, add that it works great, integrates flawlessly, and has excellent tools for scheduling and throttling downloads. So if you want the sort of living room environment, use Media Center, check out TvTonic.
Yeah, and hey, Steve, are you and Chris buddies with Andre? Just kidding. Okay, one more?
Yes.
Okay. So, Ian's got a cool setup. For aggregating all my podcasts, I have MyPodder installed on an SD chip, along with Firefox Portable and VLC Portable. I download the podcast in the morning and take the chip with me to work so I can watch and listen during my lunch break.
That is so cool. Ian, that is so cool. That's
And-
awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And a lot of you own iPods, but some of you just don't want to go the Apple route. And in that case, Microsoft's new 80 gigabyte Zune has some serious potential. And you guys know that I'm an iPod lover, but this is cool.
It's actually pretty impressive. Price-wise, the 80 gigabyte Zune, which is what I'm holding right here in my grubby little paws, and the iPod Classic are a wash. The Zune is $50 less than the 8 gigabyte iPod Touch, but that's a real apples to oranges comparison.
Yeah.
Because the iPod Touch is like 1/10 the storage capacity of
Yeah.
this.
And Zune has a much bigger screen than the iPod Classic, 0.7 inches, and it doesn't sound like much, but it is really nice for video and great for pictures. So both Microsoft and Apple have proprietary software. There are tons of options on the iPod to avoid iTunes, and we don't know of any for the Zune.
We've gotten a couple emails that are like, I've got a Zune, is there anything I can use other than their software? No, actually.
But as far as the audio goes,
pretty good.
both are great.
Absolutely. Now, there's a lot to like about the Zune software. You see it on the screen right now. It's got a clean interface. It's pretty easy to navigate. It's nice to see podcast support built in, but you can only subscribe to podcasts already in the Zune marketplace. That makes it a pain in the thing to get the bazillions of podcasts that aren't already in there. You can suggest them, but like Techzilla's not there. Kind of annoying. We've suggested the feed. Speaking of stuff you can't get in there, if you've bought protected audio from Windows media sites other than the Zune marketplace, you're hosed for getting it onto your Zune unless you can figure out a way to crack it, because the Zune is only compatible with protected stuff, DRM stuff, paid downloads from the Zune marketplace. So how'd you like the new control, the fabulous Zune pad, as they call it?
Well, I think it's actually such an easy way to navigate, very intuitive. I mean, I was holding it for 2 seconds. I'm like, hey, Pat, where's the volume? And it's very intuitive, up and down. And then when you're looking at pictures, you want to flip through your pictures by using up and down. But then if you're listening to music while you're looking at your pictures, the volume then switches from side to side.
It's a little funky.
It's a little funky, but it's really cool. So I'm actually pretty into it. The video resolution is really good, and the sound quality is good. And I also just appreciate that.
One downside is the audio, the earbuds are actually surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that cool nylon texture that's wrapped around the cables?
Yes.
Yeah, if you have a jacket with like any kind of texture.
It's going to be like a remix
Yeah,
in your ears.
you hear the rubbing, like
Wiki.
corduroy rubbing in your ears. The totally new interface over the original one, and of course the changes over the thumb pad. I don't find this one as responsive as the original Zune interface. It seems a little slower. And
See,
that may
I
just
felt
be
this
me.
one was a little bit more clunky, to be quite honest.
Ooh. Well,
Yeah.
clunky maybe, but I thought at least it was fast.
Faster.
Clunky but fast.
Yes.
Do you care about the Wi-Fi sync or the FM radio?
Oh, I love the FM radio. I'm still a fan of radio, and so
See, I carry around one of these so I never have to listen to radio.
Oh, see, I like
Or
radio,
like my iPod.
especially when I'm traveling. I kind of like makes me feel like I'm more involved, like in the city that I'm in. So I dig radio a lot.
Thumbs up? Thumbs down?
I would say a thumbs up for anybody that's like into, DRM. Anybody that is into Microsoft and already has a Zune and wants to upgrade, absolutely. For people that want to make the switch.
Well, you
I don't
upgrade
know.
if you can actually upgrade the software onto the existing Zune for no charge, which is kind of nice.
Cool.
I'd actually say it's a pretty good just standalone media player, except for that whole glitch with not being able to add any podcast or video cast you want into the marketplace.
Yeah,
Fix that.
that could be a deal breaker. All right, so coming up, your gaming addiction has probably cost you a pretty penny. Why not save a buck with the best used video games? But first, sponsoring this episode of Techzilla is Netflix. If you like high def, you can get both HD, DVD, and Blu-ray movies and shows. Get a free trial of them by signing up through a site they set up just for us at netflix.com/Techzilla.
I recently bought an Xbox 360 and I was amazed at how much games could cost. I mean, talk about sticker shock. Now, I want to know how to become a more frugal gamer, and joining me today is Jim Lauterbach, our Chief Executive Gamer here at Revision 3. And now you're going to teach me how to save a buck or two but grow my video game library, right?
Exactly. There are a lot of good games out there. You don't have to buy the brand new games. And these consoles, the new consoles, have downloadable games that are even cheaper.
Okay, let's start with the Wii.
Okay.
Now, I understand that they have a virtual console online.
Well, there are two different parts to the Wii. The first is, it is a complete GameCube system as well, the precursor to the Wii.
Right.
So any GameCube game will work with it just fine, and there are a lot of good GameCube games out there that
Sure.
you may have missed. The second thing is, it has inside a virtual console. It's kind of like the MAME emulators. So it'll run games from the N64, from the old NES, Super NES, and a bunch of others. And those games are even cheaper, $6
Yeah.
to $10. You can download them and they work great.
I understand the older the console, the cheaper the game.
Right, exactly. Now I'll talk to a couple that I've been playing that are a ton of fun.
Okay.
So Paper Mario, I played Paper Mario on the GameCube, but this N64 game I missed, it's great. I've been playing it all weekend. It cost me like $8 or $10. There's tons of gameplay in there. The original Super Mario 64 is available. Also, Pac-Man. You gotta love Pac-Man, right?
Yes, I have the belt. I totally love
I have a
Pac-Man.
watch, Pac-Man watch.
We could have been coordinating.
Yeah, we should have been. Oh
Yeah,
well.
oh well.
But you can download Pac-Man and play Pac-Man. It's cheap. The Zelda games, I like the Zelda ones too. Now, Twilight Princess, great for the Wii. It'll set you back $60, $50. The older, I actually have it here, the GameCube game, the Wind Waker, also really good. But A Link to the Past, one that people missed for Super NES. I think it's Super NES. Anyway, $6 I've been playing that
Wow.
one. Now, if you're going to do it, though, one thing to keep in mind, you can't play all these old games on the original controller that comes with the Wii.
Right.
You got to get yourself one or the other. Now, you have in your hands the virtual controller for the Wii. I don't like it that much. It plugs in the bottom. I mean, feel it. What do you think? You had an old NES.
I think it's a little too light, and it just seems a little clumsy.
It's weird to plug it
plugged
in there.
Right.
What I suggest you do is get yourself an old GameCube controller. These plug right into the top. You see right here, they've got room for 4 GameCube controllers. They work with all the older virtual console games. They're great. This thing is awesome, and it'll work just fine. Oh, and you can plug in your save games from your GameCube here if you happen to have them.
That's awesome. So you know that I don't actually have a Wii. I would love to get one, but I don't have one. I do, however, have an Xbox 360, so that's what I'm like really, really wanting to know how to
Okay,
save on.
good news on the 360 as well. This is awesome. I have one of these too. First of all, you got to get yourself a flat panel, Neha. You were telling me you don't have a flat panel hooked up to it. The HD experience is half of it. Get one of those, but I'll save you money on games so you can afford the flat panel.
Yes.
Okay, couple of games that I think are good. Now the 360's been out for a couple of years. what that means is some of the first games that shipped, great games, are available used at GameStop or one of those places, 20 or 30 bucks, really cheap.
Yeah.
Two of my favorites. First of all, Oblivion. Hundreds of hours of gameplay
Elder
in here.
Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls Oblivion 4, you can get it for about 20 bucks. Here's another game that sort of missed the, this is a third-person shooter. It sort of fell by the wayside. It came out in March of 2007, Earth Defense League. It's a little bit, I mean, it's a pretty simple game, but it's oddly compelling. You can get it new for about 20 bucks right now at Circuit City, I saw. Yeah, and they're older games for the Xbox. That some of them work on the 360 too.
Yeah, but you have to make sure that they're backwards compatible. For example, I picked up Ninja Gaiden Black, and I got it from EB, and it has this little BC in parentheses, and I would totally recommend this game. Again, a little bit older, and it still costs 25 bucks, but it's a lot better than the 60 bucks.
And it's great gameplay, it looks good. One of my favorite Xbox games that works on the 360 is Fable. And I love this game, it works really well.
And if you look at the cover here, it says Platinum Hits. There's a link that you can visit on Xbox's website that will tell you a bunch of the Platinum Hits that are also pretty affordable.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the Platinum Hits, some for the Xbox, some for the 360, they were some of the earlier games still available. You get them new and they're really inexpensive. So it's a great way to build your library.
Okay, and we have a console missing here. We don't have the PS3, but there's reason behind that.
Yeah, one of the problems with the PS3, earlier ones included circuitry so it would play the old PlayStation 2 games.
The
The
60
newer ones,
gig.
to save money, they took it out.
I know.
And so if you're going to get a PS3, you probably have a PS2 anyway. Don't get rid of your PS2.
Yeah.
But the
Don't
backward...
get rid of your 60 gig one either.
Yeah,
Because that's one of the few ones that actually will play the games.
Exactly, the backward compatible issue is just, you know, that's an issue on the PS3 side. Another thing to do is if there's a new game you gotta play, buy it, play it for like 3, skip work, not you, everyone else, skip work, and play the game for 3 days and then return it.
Yeah, and that way you can
most
recover
of your
some
money
of your
back.
costs.
Exactly.
Exactly. Another thing that you might want to do is look online. You might want to barter because there are some online communities that are all into gaming, and you could probably just trade up games, and that might be a good way to go.
Yeah, and there are Netflix alternatives like Netflix for games that allow you to sign up for 20 or 30 bucks a month, get 1 or 2 games, play those, and then get a couple more, but that's a subscription option.
So there are some tips for you. Thank you so much for telling me how I could save a buck or two.
Yeah, a couple bucks. The new consoles are awesome. If you don't have a new console, go get one.
Maybe I could save up and buy Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah, good luck on that one. That one's hard to find.
I know, it's a rare one. Anyways, thank you.
Sure.
I just got my little sister a Wii for Christmas.
Cool.
It's a collective family gift. I'm not that big time where I can give her a Wii all by myself, but I bought her the Hannah Montana Rock Star Tour game
I'm afraid.
on Amazon.
Right.
And it still cost me like 50 bucks.
Games are not cheap. I think, and it's amazing actually. If you get a rare game,
Yeah.
and Neha will tell you about this, if a game that like nobody ever sold or got rid of or tried to sell,
Yeah.
Man, you're paying bucks.
How much would you pay for that? Like 80 bucks?
Me?
Double?
I wouldn't. Neha, 160? 100?
Yeah.
160? You'd pay?
She
Would
is.
you pay 100?
We just qualified her as a stage 4
75?
rabies. No,
75, yes.
75.
nerd
Yeah.
with rabies.
How old is that game?
What did you say?
It says stage 4 nerd with rabies.
Stage 4 nerd.
2003. Wow. Maybe you shouldn't sell your games. Anyhow, if you're looking for a bunch of cheap games, they add up. Just get some used games. The kids will love them.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so coming up, find out how to back up all your important data at home. This episode of Techzilla and the following backup segment are brought to you by Drobo, the world's first storage robot and the easiest way to protect your data. Drobo expands forever, and it's award-winning with the highest CNET rating for storage ever. Go to drobo.com and save 50 bucks by entering the code Techzilla.
All right, we talked about how RAID, or a box like a Drobo, protects your data because it duplicates all your data or can replicate lost data, or replicate as many people would say it, when a hard drive dies. And we talked about building a simple file server, right? You know,
Right.
an old system, you throw an operating system on there, you turn on file sharing. One thing we haven't mentioned is making sure you protect that hardware. You should definitely guard against power spikes and power outages. I use a UPS, that's an uninterruptible power supply at home just because it can help my system gracefully shut itself down. Here, something's gonna happen. I'm gonna yank the
Are you
power
gonna
cord
yank
on
the
this.
power here?
I'm gonna yank the power here. Basically, this is a
Great.
battery.
Here we go again.
Yeah, I know, it's gonna start squeaking, right? So, yeah, isn't that wonderful? when you hear that at 2 in the morning, it's like the second worst sound on the planet. It used to be the worst sound on the planet until I had a child. Yeah. So what happens though is, okay, they've got some that are just surge protectors. So lightning strikes the house, you're protected from a surge because basically it's going to melt inside to protect your equipment. Or if the guys from the local electrical company are doing a fix, like happened to a friend of mine's house, blew out every single electrical device in his house except for his oven.
They totally fixed it.
Yeah, they fixed it. It took him 12 months to get the money to replace his stereo and his computer and his television and his other computer and his clock radio and the lamp bulbs, and basically just torched everything in his house. The idea though here is the battery backup. There's battery backup, which is nice. So if the power shuts down, there's a USB cable. It's going to tell the system we're out of power. You should shut down, and the system starts shutting stuff down, so it doesn't just kill itself, right? Yeah. The other nice thing about that is it does power conditioning, which means you're supposed to get like 60 hertz and 120 volts out of the socket, and it's usually like somewhere between 110 and 130, and it's supposed to be 60 hertz, and it could be anywhere from 50 to 70 hertz. And the idea is that it's going to a really nice uninterruptible power supply is going to sort of smooth that out and get you as close to 120 volts and 60 hertz as possible. Because power, especially as in the summer months, as people start turning on the air conditioning, it can basically just do horrible stuff to your computers and to the performance of some of your higher quality home stereo or theater equipment. So the thing is, though, we should point out, like, you do this, you're protected from electrical problems, right? If your house burns down, you're still, your house burns down, like a catastrophic disaster.
Or like a tornado.
Or a flood. Even this isn't going to survive. We're going to talk next week about online backups to save you from catastrophic disaster.
I'm interested to hear all of that stuff too. Oh, and before anybody else writes in, yes, transferring files over the network or from a RAID 5 box or a Drobo is definitely going to be slower than using a single USB drive attached directly to your machine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
However, if that single drive fails, you're hosed because you lost your data. What we're talking about here, backing up your data on something that maybe you don't use every day so that it's there in case of a major failure of the drive in your system.
There's so much time that goes into backing stuff up. It's kind of frustrating, but it's necessary.
You set your backup software to do it like 2 in the morning. Are you on the computer at 2 in the morning?
Sometimes.
Well, I'm sure you can
doing stuff.
It'll back up in the background.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Set it to back up at night.
Got it.
Or during the day, or when you're at breakfast.
Got it. Okay.
Coming up, we're going to answer your burning email questions, but first. Big thanks to GoDaddy for reaching out and sponsoring TechZilla. If you want to make an impact online, do it with GoDaddy.com. .com names as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. Enter code TECH5, TEK5, when you check out and save an additional $10 off any order of $40 or more.
Now it's time for Code Red. VodPod is a place on the internet where you can create your own personal video network by adding all your very favorite videos like movie trailers, music videos, mashups, etc. so they all can coexist in one place. So once you sign up, you create a widget, or what they refer to as a video pod. Videos can be public or private, and there are 3 ways to get a video onto your pod. So you can search video names, copy and paste video links from Google, YouTube, iFilm, or upload your very own. And you can monitor your pod in several ways. So pod activity shows you who has been viewing your pics. And then there's My Activity, which lists what you did on other people's pages. And it's cool because Pod Videos lets you embed a widget playlist onto your blog or social networking page without redirecting. So you can also create a high-res version of the video that can be downloaded to your, let's say, your iPod or your Zune or even your PSP. And VodPod.com is a great place to collect web videos in one spot and share home movies and travel logs with family and friends. But I would like, if I'm gonna get nitpicky, I would like more skins and customization options. Now, on the flip side, there are other sites that offer similar services, such as Agriga, YouTube Desktop, and the Daily Tube. Picspot.com is probably the closest competitor with its similar aggregating features. However, Picspot's interface lacks the aesthetics and advanced functionality that VodPod successfully execute. So check it out, VodPod.com. And now it's time to answer some of your questions. Ready?
Yeah, sorry, the baby stroller,
Baby
shotgun,
strollers. Saw
supercharger
that over
thing was
your shoulder.
distracting.
All right. So first one reads, how about creating a Tekzilla ringtone from the first part of the show, the part that sounds like a flute, not the guitar part, from Tenzin.
I'll tell you what, Tenzin, check the show notes for this week. We've got the whole song that you can download and make any kind of ringtone out of any section of the song you want to.
I'm totally going to do that. Fun.
Urkel asks, Urkel?
Urkel. Go with Urkel. Go with it.
Is it true? Is it true that Nintendo is developing iPhone games? That's Urkel, I believe, from Lima, Peru.
Ercole.
Urcole.
Okay, so
That
an
is
Apple,
Italian.
an Apple rumor? Well, it must be Tuesday because we checked with some gaming mavens we know, and there's a rumor floating around, but they think bloggers are confusing Nintendo emulators hacked on the iPhone with Nintendo games. So the
Sanctioned
Nintendo
by
DS,
Nintendo.
and then the Nintendo DS is the most popular portable gaming platform around. So why would they care about doing something with the iPhone?
I can't imagine. I mean, hey, but the flip side is it could happen. Weirder things have happened. Keeping an eye open in Macworld at January. I mean, it's like, rumors, Apple products.
Happens.
Surely
All
you
right,
jest.
so next up, Andy asks, the motherboard you picked for the $500 PC is an open box item. Do you think it's okay to buy open box? It doesn't come with any cables.
Okay, let me plug this back in again. Sorry. I think it's
That
pretty
is,
good.
it makes me feel like I just woke up.
Well, we got like 15 minutes out of the power supply with a whole bunch of stuff plugged into it. That's the whole idea. You have no power, it keeps running, and hopefully you've configured the software to shut it down.
Okay.
So, Andy, I love a bargain, so I buy open box and refurbished items all the time. In this case, I've got piles of spare PC parts in my garage, so not having cables, not a big deal for me. If you got to buy some serial ATA cables, motherboard risers, or any additional cables, it might be less of a bargain for you.
And the biggest thing, of course, is to make sure, use it as soon as you get it, because if there's a problem,
Right.
you want to return it within its window.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than like, I bought a 60-inch screen TV for $8 and getting it home and find out that, you've got 60 inches of garbage that doesn't run.
But at least it was only $8. All right, I believe that is this week's episode.
Because one more thing?
Yeah.
Check the manufacturer's warranty and make sure there's still some left before you buy something that's open box or refurbished.
That tip was free. That tip was free 99 for you guys. I'm Jessica Corbin.
I'm Patrick Norton. I think that's it for this week's episode of Tekzilla.
And of course, email Tekzilla, revision3.com. Bye.
Gotta get away.
Coming up, don't let your computer get cookies. Cookies.
Power cooties. Can we get a cookie for Ms. Corbin?
Cookie time. We put
On your
a little
fingertips?
bit of moisturizer
Really?
on first, or a little bit of face and body, and you get it all over the face. Then you can follow it up with powder,
powder
and it
sticks
sticks,
better?
and you have a more matte finish.
I like that thought.